Welcome back to Z Coins. If you're a coin collector, history buff, or just someone who's curious about how pocket change can turn into a small fortune, you're going to love this episode. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most talked about coins in American numismatics, the 1967 Washington quarter dollar. A coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but in some cases, can be worth as much as $92,000 in today's collector market. That's right, $92,000. You might be wondering, how is that even possible? Wasn't this just a common quarter used in everyday transactions? Well, yes and no. Let's go all the way back to the origins of this coin and uncover what makes certain 1967 quarters so special and so incredibly valuable. First off, a little background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The design was created by John Flanagan and featured a bust of Washington on the obverse with an eagle on the reverse. For decades, these coins were struck in 90% silver. But that all changed in the mid-1960s due to a nationwide coin shortage and the rising cost of silver. The United States Mint removed silver from the quarter in 1965. From that point on, quarters were made from a copper-nickel-clad composition. That brings us to 1967. Just 2 years after this major change. The Mint was still adjusting to the new materials, and more importantly, they made one very notable decision that year. They eliminated all mint marks. That's right. In 1967, the Mint decided that none of the quarters, or any coins for that matter, would carry a mint mark. This was done to discourage coin hoarding and to make it harder for collectors to focus on specific mints. So, whether your quarter was made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it wouldn't have a mint mark. Now here's where things get interesting. While millions of 1967 quarters were made, over 1.5 billion of them, a tiny handful have surfaced over the years with rare errors, unique characteristics, and in extremely high grades, making them worth a small fortune. Let's break this down. First, let's talk about error coins. In any mass production system, errors are bound to happen, and coin minting is no exception. Some 1967 quarters show off-center strikes, double dies, or even experimental planchets. One of the rarest types is a double die obverse, where the date and lettering appear doubled. These errors are extremely scarce and highly sought after by collectors. Another rare variety includes 1967 quarters struck on silver planchets by mistake. Remember, by 1967, quarters were no longer supposed to be made with silver. But sometimes, leftover silver blanks from earlier years were accidentally fed into the machines. These rare silver-clad 1967 quarters are incredibly valuable, especially when authenticated by top grading services like PCGS or NGC. Now let's talk condition. A coin's value heavily depends on its grade. That means how pristine and flawless it is. Most coins in circulation show wear and tear. But some lucky 1967 quarters were pulled straight from mint rolls or collector sets and kept in perfect condition. These coins, graded MS-67 or higher, can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. Here's where we get to the big number. In a rare auction event, a 1967 special mint set quarter-graded SP68 Cameo by PCGS sold for an astounding $92,000. That's right, a nearly perfect coin with brilliant surfaces, deep mirror fields, and frosted design elements. Only a handful like this exist. That's what makes it so incredibly rare and valuable. But don't worry, even if your 1967 quarter isn't worth $92,000, it could still be worth something. Here's a quick breakdown of possible values for 1967 quarters in today's market. Circulated 1967 quarters, the kind most of us see in pocket change, are generally worth their face value, 25 cents. But uncirculated examples can go for around $1 to $5, depending on the condition. If you have a 1967 quarter in mint state 65 or higher, you're looking at values ranging from $25 to a few $100s. Coins graded MS-67 or above can range from $500 to several $1,000s. Special mint set varieties, particularly cameo or deep cameo specimens, can range anywhere from $1,000 to tens of thousands. And if you've got one of those ultra-rare error coins or a verified silver planchet strike, your coin could be worth tens of thousands or more. So, how do you know if you've got a rare one? First, examine the coin carefully. Look for signs of doubling, odd coloration, off-center strikes, or unusual weight. You can also weigh the coin. Standard 1967 quarters should weigh about 5.67 grams. Anything significantly different could be an indicator of a rare variety. Next, consider getting your coin professionally graded and authenticated. PCGS, NGC, and ANAX are the top grading services, and they can tell you exactly what you have and what it's worth. In conclusion, while most 1967 Washington quarters are common, a few rare examples have become some of the most valuable coins in modern American numismatics. Whether it's due to a mint error, a rare composition, or an exceptional grade, some of these coins have reached values as high as $92,000. So the next time you're going through your pocket change or an old coin collection, don't overlook that 1967 quarter. You just might be holding a piece of American history and a small fortune. We're diving deep into the fascinating story behind one of the most surprising and valuable coins in American history. A coin that might just be hiding in your pocket change right now. We are talking about the 1965 Washington quarter. And yes, some of these coins have sold for over $84,000. That's right. A small silver-colored coin from 1965, with no visible mint mark and a face value of just 25 cents, has fetched tens of thousands of dollars at auction. So how is that possible? Why would a quarter from 1965 be worth more than a brand new car or even a college education? Let's break down the history, the mystery, and the money behind the 1965 Washington quarter. Make sure you watch this video all the way through, because we'll also show you how to check if the quarter you own could be one of these rare and valuable treasures. So let's start with the basics. In 1965, the United States Mint made a huge change to our coinage system. Up until that point, quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. But in 1965, due to the rising cost of silver, the Mint decided to stop using silver in most circulating coins. Instead, they switched to a clad composition, basically a copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. That change began with the 1965 quarter. This coin officially marked the end of the silver era for quarters. The new clad coin looked very similar to the older silver ones, but it weighed slightly less and had a different metallic sound when dropped. Now here's where things get really interesting. Although the Mint had officially stopped producing silver quarters in 1965, a very small number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 1964 silver planchets. A planchet is just a blank piece of metal that's ready to be struck into a coin. Somehow, a few of these silver planchets got mixed in with the new clad blanks and were used to mint 1965 quarters. That means that out there, in circulation or in someone's coin jar, there could be a 1965 quarter made of silver. These are extremely rare mint errors, and they are what collectors call transitional errors. Because the Mint did not place mint marks on quarters in 1965, it can be very difficult to tell at first glance if your quarter is one of these rare silver versions. But here's how to check. First, look at the edge of the coin. If you see a copper-colored line running around the edge, then it's the standard clad version. But if the edge is solid silver in color with no visible copper stripe, then you might be holding a silver 1965 quarter. The second thing you can do is weigh the coin. A regular clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver quarter, like the ones made before 1965, weighs around 6.25 grams. That small difference can mean big money. And when we say big money, we're not joking. One 1965 silver quarter sold at auction for over $84,000. That particular coin was authenticated and graded by a professional service and confirmed to be struck on a silver planchet. But that's not all. Even among the standard-clad 1965 quarters, there are varieties and errors that can command high prices. Some examples include double die obverse, off-center strikes, and coins with missing or partial clad layers. .1 error coin from 1965, struck on a dime planchet, sold for more than $7,000. Another example, featuring an off-center strike and strong doubling, went for thousands as well. So what does this mean for you? It means that it is absolutely worth taking a second look at any 1,965 quarters you come across. Even if it's not silver, it could still be an error or variety that collectors want. Now let's talk about the current market. As of this year, coin values have been climbing due to increased interest in numismatics and the rise of online marketplaces. Rare and high-grade 1965 quarters continue to do well at auction, especially if they are slabbed and graded by top companies like PCGS or NGC. The highest value coins are those in mint state condition, usually MS67 or higher. These coins show no signs of wear and have strong details and clean surfaces. The record-setting 1965 quarter that sold for $84,000 was graded MS68 and confirmed to be silver.to. Get top dollar for your coin. It's a good idea to have it professionally graded and authenticated. You can also consult with reputable coin dealers or attend a coin show to learn more. So, to wrap it all up, the 1965 Washington quarter might seem ordinary, but it holds a powerful legacy. It marked a turning point in U.S. coinage history, and for a lucky few, it has turned pocket change into a small fortune. Check your change, look closely at your coins, and who knows, you might be holding the next big auction winner. If you are into rare coins and the hidden treasures hiding in your pocket change, then get ready, because today, we are diving deep into one of the most surprising coins in American numismatic history. The 1966 Washington quarter. You heard that right. A coin that many people overlook has sold for as much as $76,000. So how did this happen? Why is a simple quarter worth a small fortune? Stick with me because the story has it all: mystery, rarity, history, and big-time value. To begin with, let's go back in time to the year 1966. The United States was still adjusting from a major decision made the year before. In 1965, the U.S. Mint stopped putting silver into circulating dimes, quarters, and half dollars. Up to that point, quarters were made with 90% silver. But due to rising silver prices and coin shortages, the Mint made a historic shift to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This change marked the beginning of a new era in American coinage. Now here's where it gets really interesting. In 1966, the U.S. Mint did not put mint marks on coins. This was part of an effort to discourage coin hoarding. People were snatching up coins with mint marks, believing they would become rare. So from 1965 through 1967, no mint marks were used on circulating coins. That means a 1966 Washington quarter will never show a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. Only Philadelphia made these coins, but even that mint mark is not shown. So if there's no mint mark, what makes the 1966 quarter so special? Let's get into the secrets behind its value. While hundreds of millions of 1966 quarters were produced, most were used in circulation. That means they were spent, worn, and tossed around for decades. Finding a 1966 quarter in perfect, uncirculated condition is much harder than you might think. And when collectors want perfection, they are willing to pay a premium. Now here's the jaw-dropping part. In recent auctions, some 1966 quarters have sold for massive amounts. One coin in particular, graded at an astonishing mint state 68 by a top grading service, sold for $76,000. That's right, 76 grand for a single quarter. The reason is simple. It is one of the finest known examples of this date. With millions of coins struck, only a tiny handful have survived in such pristine condition. But that's not all. There are also rare error coins from 1966 that can fetch serious money. Some quarters were struck on leftover silver planchets, which means they were accidentally minted using the old silver coin blanks. These silver-clad error coins are incredibly rare and valuable. Others show off-center strikes, double dies, or missing clad layers. All of these mint errors can push the value of a 1966 quarter into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So how do you know if you have a valuable one? First, check the condition. If your 1966 quarter looks like it just came from the mint with no scratches or wear, it could be worth sending in for grading. Look at the coin under a bright light and check for sharp details, strong luster, and no signs of circulation. Next, listen closely when you drop the coin on a hard surface. Silver coins have a higher pitch than clad coins. If it rings like a bell, you may have one of those rare silver errors. Another thing to keep in mind is the edge. A standard clad quarter has a copper-colored edge. If yours looks silver all the way through, that could be a major clue that you are holding a rare transitional error. These are the little details that can turn your 25-cent piece into a life-changing discovery. So let's wrap this up. The 1966 Washington quarter may seem ordinary at first glance, but the truth is, it holds incredible potential. Whether it's the rarity of a high-grade example or the treasure of a rare mint error, these coins can be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars today. That $76,000 quarter proves just how far collectors are willing to go for the best of the best. We talk about coins that could change your life. Today we are diving deep into the story of the 1973 Washington quarter-dollar coin and why collectors are going crazy over it. Especially a rare one that recently made headlines by selling for an unbelievable $68,000. Yes, you heard that right. $68,000 for a single quarter. So grab your coin jar and stay with me until the end. You might just have a treasure sitting right at home. Now let's go back to the beginning. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It quickly became a staple in American pocket change. By the time 1973 rolled around, the design had remained largely unchanged. We still had George Washington on the obverse and the iconic eagle on the reverse. But what makes the 1973 quarter special is not the design itself. It is the mint mark, the condition, and some rare errors that make a few of these coins worth a fortune. In 1973 quarters were minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia do not carry a mint mark. Coins from Denver carry a small d, and those from San Francisco have an S. Now most 1973 quarters are worth just 25 cents if they have been circulated. Even uncirculated examples might only fetch a few dollars. But here's where things get interesting. Some 1973 quarters, especially those with the Denver or San Francisco mint mark in pristine condition, can be extremely valuable, especially if they are in high grades like Mint State 67 or above. Now let's talk about that $68,000 quarter. This is not your average coin. This particular quarter was graded by PCGS as Mint State 68 with full strike details and almost perfect surfaces. What made it even more remarkable was its exceptional luster and eye appeal. Serious collectors know that finding a 1973 quarter in this kind of top condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. That rarity drove the price sky high in auction. Only a few such coins exist in that grade, and when demand exceeds supply, the price goes through the roof. This is how a regular coin turns into a 5-figure prize. But it's not just about condition. There are also some error varieties that make the 1973 quarter worth watching closely. For example, some coins have been found with double die obverse. This means some of the lettering or details on the front are slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. These double die quarters can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the clarity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. Another valuable variety is the off-center strike. That's when the design is not centered properly on the coin. If a large portion of the design is missing but the date is still visible, collectors will pay a premium. There are also known examples of clipped planchet errors where a portion of the coin is actually missing due to a mishap in the blanking process. So how can you tell if your 1973 quarter is worth money? First, look at the mint mark. Check if it's a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. Then examine the coin's condition. Is it clean, shiny, and free of scratches? Hold it under a light. Does it have that original mint luster? If you suspect your quarter might be valuable, it's best to get it professionally graded. Reputable services like PCGS and NGC will give you an official grade and help establish its market value. And here's an important note. The San Francisco minted quarters from 1973 were not meant for circulation. These were proof coins made for collectors and sold in special sets. If you come across one of these in circulation, it's already a rare find. A deep cameo proof with flawless surfaces can easily bring in a few hundred to a few $1,000s depending on its grade. Let's talk numbers now. As of today, average circulated 1973 quarters are worth face value. Uncirculated examples in Mint State 65 might sell for between $5 and $20. Mint State 67 examples can range from $50 to several $100s depending on demand. But when you hit Mint State 68, that's when the price explodes. And remember this, condition, rarity, and eye appeal are everything in coin collecting. A 1973 quarter that looks like it just came from the mint stands far above the rest. So next time you're going through your change, keep a sharp eye on those quarters. Look for the 1973 date. Check the mint mark. Inspect the condition. Who knows? you might be holding one of the most valuable quarters of the modern era. We're diving deep into one of the most talked about coins in American numismatic history, the 1979 Washington quarter. Yes, you heard that right. Some of these quarters could be worth up to $60,000. So if you've got a jar of change sitting in your house or an old coin collection from your parents or grandparents, you might want to check for this rare gem. Now let's talk about the coin itself. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932. It features the iconic profile of George Washington on the obverse side and the familiar eagle on the reverse. But something unusual happened in the year 1979. First, understand this. When we talk about coins, mint marks are a big deal. These small letters, usually found just to the right of Washington's ponytail, tell us where the coin was minted. In 1979, quarters were minted in Philadelphia with no mint mark, in Denver with a D mint mark, and in San Francisco with an S mint mark. But the one you really want to keep an eye on is the S mint mark. Why the S mint mark? Because in 1979, the United States Mint in San Francisco released a special series of proof coins. These coins were not meant for circulation. They were struck with extra care, using specially prepared dies and polished planchets, and they were sold to collectors in proof sets. But not all S mint marks were created equal. That's where things get really interesting. In 1979, two distinct types of S mint marks were used on proof quarters. The first is known as the Type 1. It has a more blob-like, less defined S. The second is the Type 2, which features a much clearer, more refined S. It's the Type 2 that collectors go crazy for. Why? Because fewer of them were produced, and scarcity drives value. Now here's where it gets even more exciting. While the 1979 S-Type 2 quarter proof is valuable, the real star of the show is a coin that made it into circulation by mistake. Yes, there are a few known examples of proof coins, minted in San Francisco, meant only for collectors, that somehow ended up being spent like regular money. And finding one of these is like hitting the jackpot. Some of these ultra-rare errors have fetched eye-popping prices at auction. In fact, a near-perfect 1979 S Washington quarter with a clear Type 2 mint mark, graded PR70 DCAM by PCGS or NGC, has sold for as much as $60,000. That's right, $60,000. For a single quarter. So what should you be looking for? First, flip the coin and check for the mint mark. If there's an S, it was minted in San Francisco. Then take a close look at the shape of that S. A well-defined, symmetrical S may indicate you've got the Type 2 variety. But keep in mind, you'll likely need a magnifying glass or even a microscope to tell the difference with certainty. And if you think you've got one, send it off to a professional grading service for authentication. Now let's talk a bit about the current market value. As of today, a regular 1979 Washington quarter from Philadelphia or Denver in circulated condition is still only worth its face value, 25 cents. Even uncirculated examples may only fetch a few dollars. But proof quarters from San Francisco, especially the Type 2 variety, can range from $50 to several thousand, depending on condition. And those ultra-rare, high-grade examples we mentioned, they can command prices well into the five-figure range. Collectors and investors alike are paying close attention to coins like these. With inflation, market demand, and increased public interest in rare coins, the value of special mint errors and low-mintage proof coins continues to rise. So what does all this mean for you? It means that the next time you're sorting through your loose change, you might want to slow down and take a closer look. That plain old quarter in your pocket might be more valuable than you think. It might just be a small piece of history worth thousands of dollars. Did you know that a simple pocket change quarter from 2005 could be worth up to $52,000 today? That's right. One single 2005 Kansas Washington quarter, originally worth just 25 cents, has stunned collectors with its shocking value. If you have one of these coins lying around, you could be sitting on a small fortune. But what makes it so valuable? In this video, we're diving deep into the story, rarity, and secrets behind the 2005 Kansas quarter, the elusive P1863 variety, and why collectors are paying top dollar for it today. Stay tuned to the very end, because I'll show you how to check your own quarters to see if you've got a winner. Let's rewind to 2005. The United States Mint was deep into its ambitious 50-state quarters program, honoring each state with a unique quarter design. For Kansas, the design featured a majestic American bison alongside a sunflower, the state flower. It was a powerful tribute to the state's natural heritage and quickly became one of the most popular in the entire series. But not every Kansas quarter struck that year was created equal. Some were printed with rare errors. Others had features so unusual that only a handful have ever been found. And one of those rare coins, the now infamous 2005 P Kansas quarter labeled P1863, has become a legend in numismatic circles. The 2005 P means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The Philadelphia Mint is known for producing large quantities of coins, but occasionally, mistakes slip through the cracks. That's exactly what happened here. The mint mark P can be found just below the motto "In God We Trust" on the obverse, the front side of the coin. While most people would overlook this little detail, collectors know that the mint mark is a crucial clue. It can determine a coin's origin, rarity, and even its potential value. Now, let's talk about what really makes some 2005 P Kansas quarters so valuable. It's all about errors and die varieties. The most famous error from this issue is known as the "In God We Rust" variety. That's right. Due to grease-filled dies during the minting process, the letter G in the word God was sometimes obscured, resulting in the hilarious and highly collectible "In God We Rust" error. Collectors love error coins, and this one is among the most well-known modern examples. But there's another, even rarer variety that has fetched sky-high prices. Some 2005 P Kansas quarters feature double dies, extra bison horns, or abnormal strike patterns that aren't visible without close inspection or magnification. These tiny differences are what drive the big value. The P1863 code refers to a specific catalog variety that includes unique strike characteristics and mint errors, making it incredibly rare. So, how much are these coins actually worth? Most regular 2005 Kansas quarters are only worth face value. A clean, circulated version might sell for 25 to 50 cents. But when you add a rare error or unique die variety into the mix, things change dramatically. A verified 2005 P Kansas quarter with rare die errors and exceptional condition was auctioned off for an astonishing $52,000. That's not a typo. $52,000. These types of coins are extremely hard to find, but the market is active and competitive. Collectors and dealers are always hunting for pristine examples or coins with documented error features. Even less dramatic versions, those with minor die breaks, grease-filled errors, or unique doubling, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on grade and rarity. If your coin is graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC and earns a high mint state grade, especially MS 67 or higher, its value skyrockets. So, how can you tell if you have one of these treasure coins? Here's what to do. Grab a magnifying glass and look closely at the word God on the obverse. If the G is missing or faint, you may have an "In God We Rust" error. Examine the bison's body and horn. Look for extra lines, doubling, or abnormalities. Check the overall strike quality. Coins with strong detail and no wear are far more valuable. Look for unusual luster, off-center strikes, or misalignments. If you think you've found something special, don't clean the coin. Get it professionally graded. The 2005 P Kansas quarter might seem like just another piece of change, but under the right circumstances, it can be worth a small fortune. Whether it's an error like the "In God We Rust," a rare die variety, or simply a perfect condition piece, these coins continue to draw big attention from collectors around the world. We are diving deep into the incredible story of the 2020 Washington quarter with the P Mint mark and why some of these coins are selling for as much as $40,000. Yes, you heard that right, $40,000 for a modern quarter. So grab your change jars and stay tuned, because this is one episode you do not want to miss. The coin itself. Let's start with the basics. The 2020 Washington quarter is part of the America the Beautiful series. It features the image of George Washington on the obverse or front side, just like every quarter since 1932. But what makes the 2020 version special is what's on the reverse or the back of the coin. In 2020, the U.S. Mint released quarters featuring designs from the National Park and Historic Site series, including the National Park of American Samoa, the Weir Farm National Historic Site, Salt River Bay, Marsh Billings Rockefeller, and Tallgrass Prairie. Now here's where things get interesting. The 2020 quarters minted in Philadelphia carry the P Mint mark. That tiny letter can be found on the obverse right under the word "In God We Trust." And it is that little P that has collectors hunting for treasure. Why these quarters are valuable? So why are some 2020 P Mint quarters worth big money? It all comes down to condition rarity and, most importantly, mint errors. Not all quarters are created equal. While millions were made, only a tiny number have the kind of features collectors dream of. We are talking about double dies, off-center strikes, struck through grease, and even die chips. Some quarters have what's called a WDDR, which stands for double die reverse. That means during the minting process, the coin design was accidentally stamped twice, but slightly off, creating a doubling effect in the details. These errors are rare, and the more dramatic the doubling, the more valuable the coin. In some examples, especially in the National Park of American Samoa design, also known as the bat quarter, collectors have found coins with incredible doubling on the lettering and bat figures. A top-graded version of these, in mint state 68 or higher, can fetch thousands of dollars. But a few examples with strong doubling or unique errors and graded by PCGS or NGC have sold for as high as $40,000 in auctions and private sales. How to identify a valuable 2020 PQARTR? So how do you know if you have one of these rare and valuable 2020 quarters? First, check the mint mark. If it has a P, that means it was minted in Philadelphia, and that's the version collectors are hunting for. Next, look for any unusual details. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and inspect the lettering, the date, and the images. Look for doubling, especially on the reverse. Also look at the coin's surfaces. A coin with no scratches or wear, called a mint state coin, can be worth much more. If you suspect you have a valuable error coin, the next step is to get it graded. Companies like PCGS and NGC are trusted by collectors, and their grading can dramatically increase the value of your coin. A raw quarter with a minor error might be worth a few dollars, but the same coin graded as MS68 or with a confirmed double die can jump into the thousands or even tens of thousands. Let's talk about money. Right now, the market for rare and modern coin errors is booming. With more people collecting and grading coins during the pandemic and beyond, demand has never been higher. In fact, just recently, a 2020 P-BAT quarter with a rare double die and high mint state grade sold at auction for over $40,000. Another example with a less dramatic error still managed to fetch $5,000. Even regular 2020 quarters in pristine condition are selling for $20 to $50 online, and let's not forget coins with struck through grease errors or those with visible die breaks can sell for hundreds. These types of coins might seem small, but they are highly sought after by specialists in error collecting. So what should you do now? Go through your pocket change, check your coin jars, and especially look through any 2020 quarters. Pay close attention to those with the P Mint mark and examine them carefully. You could be sitting on a coin worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. Remember, the key things to look for are mint mark, condition, mint errors, and unique features. Get them graded by a professional service if you find something promising. And most importantly, never clean your coins, because that can ruin their value. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about coins that could be worth a fortune, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a valuable update. Let us know in the comments if you found any rare 2020 quarters or other coins that surprised you. This is Coin Collecting World, and we'll see you in the next one, where your change could change your life.